guys, this is Cynthia. I just want to apologize ahead of time because this podcast has some background noise. I recorded it in a hotel room and I couldn't do anything about the noise. Enjoy. Welcome to Life's My Thing. My name is Cynthia Burley. Blessed day, everyone. Welcome to Life's My Thing. Now, you may have noticed that the podcast is no longer called Lifesmithing. Lifesmithing had an original significance, which is no longer relevant. Also, I noticed that when people look at the website, they say Life's My Thing. That's what they think it's called. They don't know that it was called Lifesmithing. So, to make things easier, I decided to change the podcast name to Life's My Thing. It's still spelled the same way. And life is my thing. I love to study life. I love to study how to improve life. Life's my thing. Thank you guys for understanding. This podcast is going to be focused on what our culpability has been in not speaking out enough and allowing the tyranny that's not only occurring in the United States, but that's occurring all over the world to really take hold. Some of you might think that this is politics and you're not interested in politics. It's a lot more than that. This has a potential of affecting us as Christians, as Catholics, because once the government decides it can intervene and insert itself into various aspects of our lives, especially since we have a government that's woke, delusional, and outright demonic, believe me, this is more than politics. Let's take a look at how we've had a role in allowing this to continue for as long as it has. Guys, you know me, it's easy to blame other people, but we always have to look at our culpability. What have we done to either support an idea, or what have we failed to do to stop? When I speak of we, I'm speaking of the collective we, and that collective might involve different parts of our society. So the first part of our society that I want to look at is the church. The church has failed us. I feel like during this pandemic, and I put that in quotes, not to minimize the significance of the people who have died due to COVID, not with COVID, but due to COVID, because some have. But it's obvious that this pandemic is really a plandemic. It was planned before the first case ever appeared. And I'm not a conspiracy theorist. You guys, you know me. I'm very level-headed and very logical. But it's quite obvious the way everyone is getting together. It's a global effort. And that takes planning. You who work in corporate America, you know that when you're planning a big event, it takes a long time. It can take months. Depending on the event, it can take a year to plan something huge. And for everyone to be in lockstep in terms of this pandemic and how they're going to approach it with the vaccine mandates everywhere, the lockdowns, that took planning. So this is a plandemic for sure. What we have discovered this year is how feckless some of the bishops and priests in our church are. We suspected it, but it wasn't obvious. The way that they quickly agreed to the lockdowns, even sometimes going further than their governors required, shows us that there is a lack of belief in our supernatural Catholic faith. I read an article in Crisis Magazine, and I will link to it in the show notes. It's called "The Vaccine Mandates Are a Line in the Sand." And one thing that the author, whose name is Riley Kane, he's an attorney, one thing he points out is that the church has not taken a bolder stance. So I'm going to quote from the article. He writes, "As a Catholic, it is distressing that the church has not taken a bolder stand for its rights or the rights of the faithful. When COVID-19 seemed most dangerous, churches closed. Sacraments were delayed. The worst fate that can befall a man is not physical death, it is damnation. Sadly, instead of proclaiming these truths, the church joined the world in fear. That's the end of the quote. And this is true. We needed our church leaders to give us guidance, to show us how we should look at this plague. And instead, they acted as if they had no faith. Some of them didn't even want to go visit COVID-19 patients in the hospital to even offer them the last rites when they were able to. So they failed us completely, and they continue to fail us. They continue to push that propaganda. But it's not only our bishops and priests that failed us. We failed ourselves. How many of us not only spread the propaganda, but also attacked our fellow Catholics by insinuating that Catholics that were not all gung-ho about the mask or the vaccines wanted to see people die? I can't tell you how many times I've seen people post about how Christ is all about love and caring for people, and these unjabbed, they obviously don't care about people's lives. They don't care about people dying. Catholics, let us reason together. Do you really believe that your fellow faithful Catholics that attend Mass at least once a week, that pray all these prayers, want to see people die? Do we want to see grandma die? If you think about it, it makes no sense. So many of us, even if we did choose to mask or take the vaccine, that's your prerogative. There's nothing wrong with that if that's what you want to do. Found ourselves blaming other people, blaming the unjabbed for the spread of the disease. Basically, parroting whatever the liberals are saying in mainstream media. So we fail in that way. We became obsessed with that fear of death. Remember what our beautiful faith teaches us. Memento mori. Remember, you die. We are all going to die. Whether it's from the flu, whether it's from cancer, whether it's from heart disease, we are going to die. And when you look at the numbers and you see the people that are mostly dying, it's usually older people. What does that mean? Does that mean we don't care about grandma? No, it means older people die of something. And usually one of the more common things they die of is pneumonia. And what do people mostly die from when it comes to COVID? It's either blood clots or pneumonia. I think these are the most common things. So we know we're going to die. And if we believe in an afterlife, you know there is a judgment day. But you know that if you live your life right and you die in a state of grace, then even if you have to spend some time in purgatory, eventually you'll be with our Lord. So many of us became obsessed with death, just like the people who don't believe, and began to turn on our fellow Christians instead of joining them and protecting them and strategizing together how we should face this common threat of a secular government infringing upon our rights. We'll be right back. Hi there. This is Cynthia Burley. Please subscribe to Life's My Thing with Cynthia Burley on iTunes, Stitcher, Spotify, and Google. If you listen to this on iTunes and you love this podcast, we would be so ecstatic if you would leave us a 5-star review. Leaving us 5-star reviews help us to reach more people. Thank you so much, and God bless. The third way we failed is that we failed to get involved in the political landscape. Yes, I know this world is not our home. However, do you realize that the laws that our local governments pass has the potential of coming inside your home? Do you realize that this secular government is anti-family? They don't like mothers and fathers. They want mothers and mothers and fathers and fathers. They don't like the traditional family. Antifa does not like the traditional family. Antifa sees the traditional family as the patriarchy. They don't want you to homeschool. They want you to send your kids to public school so they can indoctrinate them. They don't think you're the best person to parent your children. Therefore, when the government comes and tells you, We're going to teach your kids CRT, that idea that racism is endemic to our countries and that everything should be looked at in light of race. That's what they think should be taught to your kids. They use COVID to gain control. If they can tell you that you must put masks on your little kids, what else can they tell you? If they tell you you must vaccinate your kids, or they cannot go to playgrounds, then they are grabbing control. What else are they going to tell you? Are they going to tell you that if you're not vaccinated, they're going to take away your kids from you? The government has the potential to tell you as a Christian baker that you must bake that gay cake. The government can tell you that you don't have the right to go to work to feed your children if you're not jabbed. The government can tell you that you cannot open your churches. What if they decided to close their churches indefinitely for years? Yes, they have the potential to do that if we do not fight back. And I think one of the mistakes that we've made, and that includes myself, is thinking that we don't need to be involved in politics. As Christians, we can no longer avoid getting involved in politics. And what that means is we have to go to PTA meetings, school board meetings, and speak out anytime the government tries to take more control. Anytime, because you give them an inch, they're going to take a mile. So even if you don't think it's a big deal in terms of what they're trying to do, don't let them take any more power. You are responsible for raising your children, nobody else. You are responsible for their soul until they become adults, in which case they're responsible for their own souls. You have to do your best and you have to fight to be able to raise your children right in the faith with right thought and right reason. So anyway, guys, I've been doing some restructuring. I have a new page called Cynthia Burley. It's not actually new. I had started it on Facebook and Facebook started to harass me in terms of my posts and they started restricting my page. So then I was going to actually delete that page because I had another page, but I did not. And after almost a year, I came back to it and it seemed like they removed all the restrictions. So it is up again. If you follow me on Facebook, it's there, Cynthia Burley. I also have the Life's My Thing page as well that you can follow. And of course, I have Beauty So Ancient that you can follow. My plan for this year is to have a couple of other pages. My goal is to promote traditional family and culture. So because of that, you're going to notice that I'm doing more videos and stuff like that because that is culture. We can't just avoid that stuff. Okay, so I'm going to be doing more of those and you'll see that. So whenever you see anything like that, please share. I do plan on also having a health website because I also want to look at traditional ways of healing. This past year, we've noticed that we can't always rely on our doctors. For some of them, their hands are tied. And for others, they're just swallowing the Kool-Aid. Okay. So we have to take our health into our own hands. And as happened with COVID, where they were not allowing certain drugs, certain interventions, just because of politics, like the ivermectin and the hydroxychloroquine. So I want to also create that website and I'll let you guys know when that happens. So the Cynthia Burley page that is on Facebook, this is where you'll be able to see everything I'm doing. Whether it's Life's My Thing or Beauty So Ancient, you'll be able to see that stuff because I will share links from other places. So guys, you know me, I'm always doing a lot of things. I thank you for staying with me throughout these years and following me. And feel free to email me with any questions. Have a blessed day.